Guys, I guess I'm live. It says I'm live. I don't know how that lighting works on there. Hi, guys, it's Alan. Again, a targeted individual among many. For those of you who, well, chances are if you've seen this, you might have seen others. We are people that just realize that for whatever reason, our government has decided, people in our government have decided to use this as guinea pigs, as a testing ground to see. That's my Dwight Schrute shirt. That's what I got there. They have used this for years, where our government, FBI, CIA, researchers, really, science, has used every citizens as guinea pigs. And it is the realization when you wake up that being a target individual, you realize, you ultimately know if you're just your average person with a job, you're not trying to be Mr. Politician. It's just you're just your average, what you think is a good person. But then suddenly realize that somebody's playing games with you. You don't know what it is. You just know that somebody or a group of people is messing with you, and you don't know there's a name for it. You don't know there's a group. You don't know what's happening to other people. You just know somebody's effing with you. You don't know why. You just know somebody is. With a lot of TIs, this is happening with, they start with putting sound, like hearing people speak through the underneath the flooring where you are living, and they're talking to you, or maybe the room next door room. And there's nothing, at least in my case, there wasn't anything supernatural, or, it was just somebody's messing with you, saying, in my case, it was a guy and a gal. Why doesn't he come down here? He knows we're talking about him and to him. Why doesn't he come down here? Of course, if I would have done that, that would have been going down to the garage, which is owned by the neighbor, and I could have been locked up for it. So it's hard to say. At that time, you really don't know what it is that people are doing to you. You just know that somebody's messing with you. And then it gets more pronounced and becomes known as V2K, voice to skull. There's a name for it. I don't know still what the K stands for, voice to kill, or even if it means voice. You just know somebody's messing with you. You don't know why. And the further you get along, you start realizing this is happening to other people. You've got groups like Targeted in Massachusetts. You've got Ella Free's group. You got Catherine Horton, Targeted Justice. Again, Romola D. Frank Allen, again, with Targeted in Massachusetts. There's Mind Justice with, I think, Cheryl Welch. She got targeted in the mid-'80s with the same stuff. It was on Captain Kirk. I forget his name right now, but guy who played William, or no. Anyway, Captain Kirk from Star Trek. He had a show, and they, on one of the shows, just like Jesse Ventura had conspiracy theory, well, William Shatner had his own show, and Cheryl Welch was going through the same thing, the weird selected synthetic telepathy, and just the weird behaviors of people acting like they know what they're knowing, secrets about a person that was always kept quiet. And from Myron May, Ernal Alexis, all this. And even if you've been an ethical, good person, I don't know. It's like one person said at the bioethics meeting at the White House, what is the selection process? What is it about these children or babies, if it's random, totally random? Why do they pick the people they pick, or is it just purely a random selection of people to see if we can find a way to outsmart this technology so that they can make a worse, newer, more improved, better version of torture? Because that's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to make it a better world for mankind. They're making it a safer, better world for the elite to rule over and dominate, for that 1%. And the funny thing is, and we don't know, and it's a weird thing to talk about the jab, but right now, tomorrow's going to be Halloween. And tomorrow, a lot of the first responders aren't going to get the jab because for whatever reason, they're hesitant, whether they think, well, we don't know in 4 or 5 years if something could go wrong, or normal human doubts that anybody could have. It was all these 4 manufacturers came up with these vaccines in less than a year's time. That's the official story. But when you're a TI, you kind of know that the police or sheriff's department and some in the emergency departments are aware of doing something bad to you. We don't know if they know all the details about synthetic telepathy, voice to skull. They just know that we know that they know that they're trying to fuck with us for some reason. But a lot of them aren't getting jabs, and we don't know if somebody might have told them, like, maybe it's something in it that won't come out for another year or 2. We don't know. I'm speculating. But when you're a TI, you 100% do know that the government is doing this to some of its people. Innocent people that the government just views us as a number. Doesn't matter if you've been good, ethical, nice, law-abiding. If they did it to the worst of the worst, we could at least understand. It wouldn't be a due process. It'd be but they're just doing it to everyday people. And so that's kind of like, we know it because a lot of us are just otherwise good people. There's my little, what's his name? Dwight Schrute. But anyway, get that thing on. But we know it. And I think a good book for people to look at probably would be one of the scientists that helped make this stuff in the first place. His name is Robert Duncan. And he's got all these letters behind his name. Department of Defense, worked with all the DOD, Department of Defense, DARPA, CIA. Was one of the scientists that helped make this technology, but they have it all evidently compartmentalized. And so they may not know everything at first what's going on. But then when it's put together, you get this torture program. I guess it even happened to Gloria Naylor, one of the authors of The Men and the Women of Brewster's Place. She wrote a book, and I haven't read it, but it's called 1996, where she describes evidently some of the things that happened to her. And the problem is there's so many of us, not just in America, but you can find some of the protests for target individuals in front of the BBC in London, in Germany, in Poland, in Madrid, Spain. This is in the last 2 years. And in Japan, you can find all these different countries, of course, in the United States, targeted individuals protesting our treatment, our abuse, including, most, to me at least, the thing that really told me that, this is, it's not just some horrible, that it's really that far up, is seeing it at the bioethics. The White House started under Obama in 2011, was the first bioethics that I saw on the internet that dealt with targeted individuals. And you can find it under 2012 targeted individual evidence. I think James Lyko on YouTube has it, but 2012 targeted individual evidence. And there's 2011 and 2012 that targeted individual Obama or Presidential Commission on Bioethics. And in that, you'll see a room full of people. And one of the main people, there's like 10 or 12 people. One is Amy Goodman, the University of Pennsylvania president. And one of the other 10 people that are supposed to sit in and review to make sure that our government isn't torturing, and our research, the government's research, that's what they would say. Our research is to make sure that people are being treated compassionately, empathy, and nobody's being tortured. That's what they said, or, would say. And one of the main people was Dr. Christine Grady. And that happens to be Anthony Fauci's wife. She doesn't go by Fauci. She goes by Grady. She's got a degree in philosophy or bioethics. Anyway, President Obama put her in charge of this scene of bioethics. Let me get this a little cold. And it just, they've had some years, and it gave the people there a lot of hope. Well, maybe they will do something. But here it is, 2020 and 2021. And we know we're being experimented on. And the last thing we want is to have this be brought out to the rest of the world. But the thing is, it's like we make videos. We know that. I remember watching a video of Tyrone Dew where he was trying to raise awareness, and they instantly arrested him and put him, threatened to lock him up or in a psych ward or something. And so we got to do it in a way that doesn't instantly bring out the people trying to lock us up. But you want to let them know. And if there was a way, I would just say, hey, the only people, show them the bioethics thing at the White House. This is serious enough, although it sounds crazy. It was serious, and there's enough of us. It was serious enough for the White House to open its doors twice, in 2011 and 2012. And, a room full of target individuals, and claim to work on it, try to get down to the bottom of it and help us. But of course, it's 2021. And when we are the people that know it is elements in our own government doing it. We can call them the deep state, call them Illuminati, we just know they're capitalists. These are people. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, they're capitalists. And I mean, I'm not saying you have to be a socialist, that's for sure, but it's just, these are people that are just caring about their own money. In the same way, it's like when they had this pandemic start out, you would think these Congress people or representatives or senators would be getting on Twitter and warning all the constituents, because they were warned according to that Woodward book. President Trump was telling them, this thing is airborne. This thing is a killer. This was in January. The audio, you could hear it on, and it's like, this is a killer. And he's saying this, and you could hear it. And they were all told about it in January, even though on TV, nobody's saying anything. Don't wear masks. You don't need masks. That's only for the doctors and all this. Our senators didn't suddenly go out and say, hey, get some stuff, or, there really wasn't much. It's like in Japan, they had one doctor that went to YouTube and tried to warn some of its other, and then he got sick and he died. But it seems like a lot of them just went to the stock market and made a bunch of trades. They didn't, at least, it's like even in the Intel community, You'd think there'd be a lot more better people, but I can think of 3 or 4 of the thousands of people that work there. And I know they sign non-disclosures. They do the non-disclosures. They do, you'll spend years in prison but at least there was a Snowden. At least there was a Snowden. There was a Chelsea Manning, Bradley Manning, Chelsea. At least there was a John Kiriakou. There was another gentleman that had to go because he was trying to warn about torture. But it's just the idea that there would be when somebody or there'd be somebody to say, hey, the British are coming. Nothing against British people today. I'm just saying somebody to warn when a catastrophe. But it would seem even a global pandemic, there just wasn't. There isn't. It's more about getting the stock market. Whether it's Fauci, or is what, and that's the thing when she was on the board for this in 2011 and 2012. And we're hoping, but we don't know if nothing really happened. I got hit with 2015, 2016, when this happened to me. And now I have V2K, 24/7, the voice to skull, synthetic telepathy, RNM. It sounds weird, but it's like, and you're wondering, is that why a lot of these first responders aren't getting jabbed? Are they aware, are all of them aware of what is being done to us? And they're worried, even though we're a small, very small amount of people in numbers, as far as people that know that we are, is it that they're worried about this getting to them? And they didn't do anything. They could have, but like all the other people, they just got their money and they're keeping it quiet. Just like all those years before when it came to MK Ultra, when it came to the radium oatmeal and giving them to kids, how much of this is just going to be people, looking out for their own bank account and seeing how they can prosper off of some other people's tragedy? Even though we're, normally if you're raised religious, you've been taught a Christian nation. And it's like, if that's the type of Christianity where it's really just been overshadowed with capitalism and mega churches, there are some wonderful, good people of faith. There just are that do the missions and the homeless, but there's also just not a lot of people it seems that, that have gone along with this TI program. And they're not really trying, there's a couple good ones that have tried to. Thankfully, Ella Free and Dr. Matt and the groups of TJ, Targeted Justice, there's some good ones. But the weird thing is they're always trying to do street theater, trying to get you mad, trying to get you to react and freak out. Hey, TL. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Just doing my little video here. Hope you're doing okay. Tomorrow's Halloween here. And, is it 8:20 already? Oh, my mom. So I hope you're doing okay. I'm putting on my Dwight shirt. I forgot what it says on it, but it's like, you can write this backwards to me, but I can't see it. So anyway, I'm trying to make sure to not be all paranoid about it. I actually did get the thing myself, just because I figured as a TI with all this stuff in me already, I didn't think they could do worse to me. I could be wrong, but I figured the sickness, which I do believe, to me, it's real. I don't think that's an issue anymore, whether it's real or not real. that the actual coronavirus is, just is. For a while there, first it was nothing. It's nothing. It's just a flu. Now they're officially saying that there was only 2,000 people in the United States that got the flu. Normally it's 36 million that get the flu, but they say it was only around 2,000 people. That doesn't sound like a cover-up or a confusion between what is the real flu and what is coronavirus flu and what numbers are what. Yeah, from 36 or I don't know how many millions. And then suddenly the next year it's 2,000 people get the flu, and only one person or one child, unfortunately, but for that child and family. But if the one thing we know is that this stuff is just filled with lies and cover up. And we're always saying, especially if you're from a little religious town like I am, where they were all chanting, drain the swamp, drain that swamp, drain the swamp. The thing is, with Washington, D.C. and the government, they're the ones holding out the money. But the ones that are taking that money are the people in charge of our little towns. Sometimes in City Hall, in law enforcement. And it doesn't have to be just Washington, D.C. or the big cities of Portland. It can be the small towns. And if it's a torture program trying to get a person to kill themselves, torture to the point of death, murder in some way, they're going to take that money and hope it doesn't get out. They did that with me, still are. The good thing I'm thankful for is that at least for 35 years with this side pain, I didn't know what caused it. When I finally ended up getting V2K, I found out what it was. It's not just voices, it's V2K. Who gets V2K? Targeted individuals. What do targeted individuals also get? Directed energy weapons being used on them. So that's what caused all my side pain. So they did me a favor in that sense. I was able to find out. I've been in this program for 30 some odd years at least, with this directed energy weapon used on my side, needing medication for it. So anyway, so I'm thankful for that. And it made me have a totally different outlook, even on my small town. And it's weird to listen to people say, drain the swamp, drain the swamp. Meanwhile, knowing they're taking swamp money. And there wouldn't be a swamp if it's just some corrupt person holding money and nobody to take that money to do these torture programs. But I don't care if it's a big city or a little town. Whoever takes that swamp money and does that type of evil cruelty of torture, they're just as swampy as the most corrupt politician, because they're offering the money, but ultimately it's our people in town or in big cities that are taking that money and are helping to cover it up. And every targeted individual out there knows this to be the case. So it is kind of a wake-up call for TIs. When you're in this process and for months you realize, boy, something really is different. People are holding up their phones and videotaping and acting really strange around me, more strange than normal. And then, there's just all sorts of behaviors. So I'm the same, just tortured and hanging in there. That's what a big part of it is. It's hanging in there and trying to do our homework, trying to do some of the things and try not to let them get too much the best of you. At least we know we have a community of people. And to me, one thing was good is that it explained a lot of what had happened. I've had a good family as far as my mom and sister. I have a brother because of this I don't talk to, but I'm glad to be done with him. So anyway, my mom again, it's always around this time that she comes back from work and I have to make her some dinner. So I'll talk to you later, TL, and I'll try to do a thing for tomorrow for Halloween. So Any other TIs, I hope you have a good day tomorrow. And TL, I hope you hang in there, and I'll be here probably tomorrow or the next day. So come on in. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, TL. I'll get my little thing here. All right. Have a good night. Night, guys. Oh, I got to do this thing there. Okay.